In the early 90s, there was a huge scientific experiment carried out designed to see if humans could survive in an artificial Earth built inside a giant dome. So the aim was to eventually build the same giant dome on the moon and then other planets so we could live in space, because like back then we were ruining our planet really fast, and even faster now. So with the backing of a billionaire benefactor, a giant fish tank-like structure was built in the USA, and inside there was an ocean with tides and waves, like an actual, I'm not talking like a wave pool like a Wet n Wild, an ocean with tides and waves, a rainforest, a desert, a mangrove, a farm with crops, animals, there was housing, there was laboratories, everything it was assumed the human race would need to survive, and 8 humans did live inside it for 2 years, which sounds amazing, and Kate Lever's face right now is, whoa. It sounds amazing, and this should be a huge moment in our scientific history that we learn about in school, but hardly anybody has heard of it because it was a disaster, none of it worked, and everybody nearly died.
Oh, no.
Because despite sounding really impressive, this experiment wasn't run by NASA or even qualified scientists. It was run by the least disciplined and skilled, yet most self-important and clueless group of people possible, an experimental community theatre troupe.
Oh, yes!
Today I'm giving you just the gist of Biosphere 2.
How did they know how to like make a mangrove in an ocean? And
They didn't!
Okay. It was just paper mache.
And I love that the 3 of us here are all like drama school theatre,
nerds.
community theatre troupe people in our past.
They yes-anded their way to a whole nother.
They yes-anded their way to nearly dying, and we're going to talk about it.
Despite the fact that you said it was a disaster, there was part of me that was like, I think they can do it.
Well, I mean, theatre troupes can do anything if they mime. All right, I can't forget because I always forget. And actually, guys, you listen to it. Well, you're going to hear that I'm totally making this up because I did forget and we're recording this at the end. I forgot, as usual, to say my name, the name of this show, my co-host names, anything about anything useful. It's because I know that there's that little pre-recorded intro and then I just forget. But my name is Rosie Borderland. This show is Just the Gist, where I give you just the gist of stories about anything and everything. Joining me today are producers Kate Lever and Hayley Staveley, who are just listening in to this story. And we drop regular episodes on Thursdays and mini episodes on Wednesdays. And we do bonus episodes and breaking news on Tuesdays, which you can listen to if you join the Gisner Club at our Patreon or via Apple Premium subscriptions. Is that all of the stuff? God, I'm so bad at remembering all that stuff. Okay, anyway, we are slipping that in because I forgot to say it at the start. I mean, it's I thought about doing this one because, well, initially James and I stayed in Tasmania at this place called The Keep, which I've gone on and on about in breaking news episodes. It was like this, it's this incredible like accommodation, and it's called The Keep because it looks like a fortress. So it's on top of this massive, like pretty much mountain in the middle of nowhere in Tasmania, and you're just all isolated and alone. It's one of the coolest things we've ever done. But the reason it made me think of this is because while we were there, there's this fancy bathtub outside, and you like go in it at night and look up at the stars. And we kept seeing what I thought were shooting stars, and I was like, it's magical. And James was like, they're satellites, Rosie. They're satellites because the sky is filled with satellites, like space just above the Earth.
How slow did you think shooting stars were?
I don't know. If a star moves, it's a shooting one is what I thought.
Rosie, the only reason I'm like nodding knowingly is because I've had exactly the same devastating experience as you, where I've been like, magical.
Yes, like Make-A-Wish, my life's about to change. And it's like, that's one of Elon's many thousands of satellites.
Shooting stars are like, shoo.
I don't know. I've never.
Well, I mean, nobody ever specified the speed at which they shot.
Yes.
Well, they're shooting stars, not slowly moving
ambling
stars.
stars.
Well, like this conversation.
Top
No,
tier.
but I mean, James had to explain to me, like, there's so many satellites up there. And he's like, Rosie, how do you think we get internet off our Starlink thing? Like, it's all the satellites. So there's
I don't know,
just magic
James.
stuff.
And so, you know, that just got me thinking about, like, apparently there's so many satellites that soon we're going to run out of room in the sky up there. Like, it's that there's that much space crap floating around the Earth's atmosphere, and then I just started having an existential crisis about, like, who owns space and where, like, because they're fighting over, well, if there's not enough room for another satellite, who gets to choose who puts a satellite up there? Who owns the space? And then I was like, oh my God, who owns the thing? We're going to the planets and the bill. And then I remember when we were thinking about building a biosphere on another planet. So that's what made me think of this. But, you know, we're in a time now where, like I said, our planet's falling apart even worse than what it was back when this happened. And billionaires are all just like, well, we're just going to leave. So good luck to you guys. And I think this was like one of the experiments. I mean, if Elon Musk had been old enough and around back then, he would have been in charge.
And it would have
Biosphere
blown
too.
up like one of his cars.
Yes, exactly. So here we go. Just the gist of Biosphere 2.
All right.
And like all stories, drenched in the Dunning-Kruger effect, Biosphere 2 all starts with a man. A man with a giant ego who thinks he's way smarter and more talented than he is, and he wants everybody else to think so too. It's 1969 in San Francisco, and all the young kids are into communal living and like hippie culture and counterculture. And San Francisco was pretty much the center of all that, which we talked a lot about in our Charles Manson episodes. You should go and listen to Just the Gist of Charles Manson. And Hayley Staley's very proudly nodding at me with her producer nod, because she's always like, Rosie, remind people about our other episodes. And so I put that in specially.
And when you mentioned NASA, I was going to say, well, we can't even trust NASA. Please listen to the Challenger disaster episode.
Yes. Thank you very much, Kate Lever. We've done just the gist of quite a few things. Very informative. John Allen, this man, he's not young. He's not one of the kids trying to out all the counterculture in San Francisco. He's in his 40s. But John Allen decides that San Francisco is where he needs to be. He is the literal real-life form of the how do you do, fellow kids meme. Except apparently I heard the other day that even knowing what that meme is a sign that you're not one of the fellow kids.
I know, it's become too meta now.
I know. Now, using the how do you do fellow kids meme means you're trying to do how do you do fellow kids memeing with a meme. How, like, we're all turning 40 this year. I don't want to talk about it. So John Allen, he goes to San Francisco in his 40s to hang out with all the hippie kids, and he starts an experimental theatre group called the Theatre of All Possibilities, just to keep all his bases covered. And surprise, surprise, he manages to get a lot of young women to join the group with him. And John then decides they should all move in together and be a collective, not unlike a lot of the other sort of communal groups were doing at the time. Now, straight up, I will say he's not a murderer like Charles Manson,
cool.
but I'm not sure if he was creepy in terms of sexual stuff with all the younger
I'm
members.
getting a Keith Raniere vibe.
A lot of men were in the group too, which unlike a lot of those other creepy groups, it's like one man at the top and mostly all women. So a lot of men were in the group. I did read later that later some women admitted to having relationships with him. And also he proposed to a young woman in the group who was like 12 years younger than him, and they'd never had a romantic link with each other. She said that she was told their marriage was like all part of carrying out their project. Do with that information what you will. Some group members later said he was a controlling cult leader. Others say he wasn't. But there are people who went on to live with him for decades, including still now. So,
Still now?
Yeah. So, I mean,
Okay.
you know,
a
that's-
developing story.
in terms of like, you know, his dodginess, that's sort of what I know about it.
When in doubt, I always believe in the dodginess of men. I'll get ahead of it.
When
on
in
that, I'll
doubt,
believe.
I always believe in the dodginess and the Dunning-Kruger effect of men. So John Allen, he knows he wants to change the world, but he's just not sure exactly how. And he knows he doesn't want to be like all the other hippie groups that like just get high and contribute nothing, like those crazy Mansons. So they decide, like, we're not going to take drugs in this group. We're going to do things. We're going to do important things for the world. So they end up deciding to spread the message through theatre.
Love it.
What message is that? I don't know. Whatever white middle class clueless people think
I would have joined this cult for sure.
Yeah. So there's this amazing documentary about Biosphere 2 called Spaceship Earth that I watched to prep for this, and everyone should watch it. It's so good. I'll put the link in the show notes. And at one point in the documentary, one of the women, because they interview a lot of the people involved in the whole thing, and one of the women who was like 19 at the time and she's now like in her 70s, she talks about how she decided to film everything. She's like, I wanted to document what we were doing because we were making history. It was important. And then they cut to some of her footage, and it's just footage of them like jumping around in a rehearsal space, like playing improv games. So I'm not like quite sure.
Space jump.
Kind of, yeah. Like just literally the
So
epitome of like high school drama class, like, or community theatre class.
That is very important.
Yeah, it's so important.
Really important.
It's so important. So they all hang out in San Francisco for a while, performing like, you know, their plays about consumerism and stuff. But the scene in San Fran got too commercial. So they get on a bus and they find a piece of land in New Mexico, and they buy this land, I'm assuming because a bunch of these middle-class young adults have money. And they turn this land into a ranch called Synergia, and they call themselves synergists.
Oh, my God.
So it's basically just a commune collective. They plant their own food. They try to like live sustainably, but with theatre. Everything's with theatre. And every time I say theatre, I'm going to be like Alan Cumming in The Traders. When he says murder, he goes, murder. I'm going to say theatre.
Please.
And there are people going, well, I'm going to not listen to this episode.
And skip.
So a billionaire hears about their commune, and this billionaire is called Ed Bass. He comes from like an oil tycoon family. This is just the gist. Who cares? He's a billionaire. And he's like the hippie of his family, and he's into crazy ideas like saving the planet instead of just taking from it.
Wow.
He calls himself an ecopreneur. Oh, yeah. Hey, Ed Bass.
Did that catch on?
Well, it's the first time you're hearing the term, so I don't think so. So Ed Bass comes to New Mexico to visit this like commune ranch, and John Allen, he ain't no chump. By the way, he did go to Harvard, John Allen, like, and got a business degree. Like, so he's not an idiot.
Yeah, but any like white man back then
Can get into
John
Harvard.
Allen
Can
just
get into
go to
Harvard.
Harvard,
That's
right?
like
that's what you
90%
do.
of Harvard's graduating class every year is white men called John Allen.
John Allen, Alan John.
Yeah.
I also beg to differ. I think you can go to Harvard and still be an idiot.
Well, we did do the college admission scandal episode, which you can listen to in our It's a new year, 2026. We're being professional.
Yes, it's just all cross promotion from here on.
So Ed Bass goes to visit the ranch, and John Allen, he's not a chump. He knows that this guy could be their meal ticket, and he turns on the charm big time. He's like, we're going to change the world. That's our mission. We're going to help the planet. Like, they're hippies, but they're not dumb hippies, and they understand that whatever their mission is, which they're not quite sure what it is, at the moment it's just spreading a message, TBD, through theatre.
I'm relating to so much of this.
Yeah. But they know they need money, or money would be helpful to make that successful. So, and I think also probably a lot of them come from money. Like, they're, I don't know, what's the modern equivalent now? Like, super left-wing progressive people who grew up on the North Shore but live in Newtown now. Like, they care about progressive things, but they do come from a lot of money, and they understand that universe. So when they meet this billionaire guy, they know how to network with this guy and get him to give them their money. And Ed Bass loves it. He's like, yeah, you guys are like me. We're all kind of rich and like privileged white people, but like we care about things, right? Like they have like a moral elitism about them compared to other, I think, rich white people, which they all love about each other. So Ed Bass is like, shut up and take my money and let's change the world. So they take their theatre shtick on the road. So using Ed Bass's billionaire money, they decide that they want to make a boat to sail around the world.
Okay.
Like a kind of massive kind of, I guess.
Where did that come
yacht-
from?
I mean, because it's like good for the planet.
Do any of them know how to make a boat?
Kate Lever, they do not.
That's
But
not necessary. You just got to believe.
you got to believe. And one of the members is a 19-year-old girl, and she's pretty smart. And she's like, I reckon I could do this. So she designs a boat, and she is in charge of the construction, and then it doesn't freaking sink. And so they're like, great. She knows how to do it, and they start sailing around the world, and they just start doing their theater performances like wherever they go to talk about like the environment and like spread their message about consumerism and sticking it to the man. And this included, I can't even with this, performances for Indigenous people in the Australian outback, the Peruvian Amazon, and the sacred forest of Nigeria, because the people in those places definitely need a bunch of middle-class hippies performing plays for them about capitalism.
Yeah,
wow.
That's what they did to help. So, speaking of
Stop
capitalism,
burning fossil fuels, you guys.
You guys.
It's giving like high school assembly performance.
Yes, it definitely is. Speaking of capitalism, like I said, John Allen, he ain't no dummy. He has this message, still a little TBD, I guess, but he wants to make money out of all of this. So on their travels, while they're performing this theatre to Indigenous people who definitely need to know about burning fossil fuels, they decide to make their travels like profitable. So when they're in the Australian outback, they build a ranch and they make it really profitable, but in a moral way. And then they buy an art gallery in London and they make that really profitable in a moral way.
But like what are they doing?
I'm not quite sure. Like, I'm pretty sure they're just making businesses. They're spreading their theatre message. But John Allen, he studied business at Harvard. He's in it with this Ed Bass guy. And they're like, well, while we're in these places, let's start profitable businesses.
So he was an ecopreneur. He's now going back to entrepreneur.
Yeah, the eco is getting less and less, and the preneur is getting more and more.
I think it said ego.
I think he's just a guy who likes performing and being the star, and then he's like, we should probably make some money while we're doing this. So they buy all this land in outback Australia, start a working ranch, get it profitable. They start this gallery in London, which apparently is still open today. It basically, wherever they go, John Allen decides what the business project should be, and he gets Ed Bass on the phone, and Ed Bass just like chucks the money over. Like, he's just so into it. So at this point, it's the 80s. Like, they all met each other around like 1969. They've all been traveling around together for ages. And at this point, like you mentioned, Kate Lever, the NASA space shuttle program has sort of launched. And it's like really exciting in the news. Everyone's really pumped about the potential of space travel again. Since we landed on the moon, not a lot has happened until this space shuttle program in the 80s. And we all know that that's going to end really, really well. Just tune into our Challenger episode to find out how. Wait, that feels gross because a lot of people die. I'm like, tune in to find out now. Yeah, it's not great. And so it's around this time when space is really in the news that John Allen starts thinking, well, let's get in on that. Let's start thinking about how we can get people living in space.
It's a natural progression from theatre to space. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So John starts talking to some scientists about building like mini Earths on the moon and other planets. And, you know, the Theatre of All Possibilities troupe, they have a motto, which sounds very Elizabeth Holmes to me. It is, any idea that can be conceived in our time can be executed in our time.
No, it can't.
Really can't, I don't think.
There's so much evidence against that.
That motto is what put Elizabeth Holmes in prison. But, you know, with a billionaire's money, they were like, why not? I mean, how long has Elon Musk been promising flying cars? A lot. He said we were going to be flying cars by like 2010 or something. So I'm not sure if having endless money actually counts for anything if you're an idiot, but whatever. So John Allen says, if Earth is the original biosphere, like the original biological, ecological system that humans can survive on, then we'll call Earth Biosphere 1, and our mission is going to be to build the second Earth, which will be called Biosphere 2.
The sequel.
Like, you could have just called it Earth 2. Like, don't you like the
Definitely.
sequel?
I feel like there was an argument about people wanted to call it Earth 2, some people wanted to call it a biosphere, and then it just ended up just a mishmash
Biosphere
that
2.
makes no sense.
I love that, like, if it's a sequel, James and I have this thing, we thought it was so funny when Twisters, the sequel to Twister came out. And so we just call every sequel the plural of the first thing. So we're like, Titanics. And like, all that, like, so it'd be like Earths. The second one is Earths. So the billionaire Ed Bass creams his jeans over this. He's like, get fucked. I love this so much. Take all the money you need. He's so into it. So he and John set up a company in 1984 called Space Biosphere Ventures. And Ed Bass provides the initial, just a little bit of change, $150 million in 1984.
Yeah, wow.
Because Ed Bass is a serious, he's a billionaire and people take billionaires seriously. They get a lot of other people to chip in too. So they have a big budget and they get started. Here's the thing though, and I'm not sure if I've made this clear enough so far, but let me reiterate again. They are all clueless, white, middle-class hippies. They do not know anything.
We never do podcasts about those kinds of people.
No, never.
Yeah.
So we're talking about taking hundreds of millions of dollars to build an entire mini Earth ecosystem inside a giant fish tank. And they want to be the ones in charge. Like the theatre troupe are like, we're in charge. We know how to do this
thought of
best.
it.
Yeah.
It's our idea.
We thought
get
of
to do
us.
it.
Bags.
Yeah, bags it.
Triple steppies, no
returns.
races. We're talking about executing a scientific experiment, the likes of which the world has never seen, and members of an experimental theatre troupe are going to be in charge of it all.
So they don't even
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
That's right.
So they don't even bring in project managers, construction people.
We'll
scientists.
get to it. They allow some consultants, but
mostly it will be paper mache.
I don't know, mate.
Okay.
If you've been to drama school, let me tell you, you think you can do anything. You think you can do anything. And you think when people see it, it's going to blow their minds.
Oh, well, this is blowing my mind, but I don't think in the way they intended.
I think it's hubris. I think it's like collective kind of delusion. Like they've been together since 1969. It's now 1984. They've been traveling around the planet for 15 years, acting morally and intellectually superior to everyone around them, saying like, we don't need official education because we've learned at the school of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like it takes more though than building a boat and performing beat poetry to native people in Nigeria to understand how to develop science so complex it hasn't actually ever been achieved. But they're like, we can do it.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
It's just basically a giant snow globe. Like
It is.
we can
Yeah,
definitely
we can do it.
I mean,
We can do it.
I would get caught up in this. I'd be like, this sounds cool.
If
And
you're
we've got,
part of
we've
the
got
group-
heaps of money.
Yeah.
Like,
if you have all the money and like ideas,
yeah.
and when you improv, you can do anything.
Exactly.
So John Allen, of course, is the boss. Mm-hmm. He's the boss of the whole thing. And the woman who built the boat when she was 19, they were all like, well, that didn't sink. So they make her head architect of Biosphere 2.
Nice.
Another woman is assigned as chief financial officer. And this is probably my favorite part of the whole documentary I mentioned. She says in the documentary, we had budgets, but like she says it like with a question mark. We had budgets. It was quite corporate. I even wore nail polish.
Wow.
Don't ask me. I'm just a girl. Look, to be honest, that does sound a lot like me when I'm trying to run the business side of Just the Cheers. But like, know your strengths.
I did a
know
spreadsheet,
your skill
guys.
set. I pay accountants and things because I know I don't know. I know I don't know how to do that stuff.
I'm pleased with them though that they had two women in, high up the ranks.
positions.
I'm pleased.
See,
I mean, I
good
don't
in
think
some
people are
areas.
going to be using this as an example
Yeah.
to get more women into positions of power.
Look at that woman in a position of power. She's like, we kind of had budgets and I want nail polish. So there was also a woman who they put in charge of finding all the plants and crops and all the kind of sort of organic nature stuff they were going to put inside. She had no qualifications, but she does say, I was always the girl in the classroom who liked to look after the fish.
Now that is a qualification.
I know.
Come on.
But this really does, like, this documentary, guys, it is so good. It's like satire. It's like a 30 Rock sketch. You know what I mean?
This whole thing doesn't seem
I know.
real.
It's so funny. So they did, like you asked, Kate Lever, they did hire scientists and botanists and other kinds of things, but they would only let them be consultants. Okay. They were like, we know better. We've learned at the School of Life. We've performed beat poetry to Indigenous people in the Australian outback. Like, we know what this project needs. And like, to be honest, when construction was completed, it took ages. It went from 1987 to 1991. But when it was done, it looked really freaking impressive, this thing. So let me show you a picture.
Oh, yeah, please.
Second.
And I'm just going to mention another episode because I'm getting Firefest.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, what was their thing that they, like, you couldn't say no? It was
whenever Billy McFarland was like, whenever they came to him and said, this literally cannot be done, we don't have the resources, he'd go, like, this isn't a company where we accept no. Like, we're a yes company.
Wow. Yeah.
And you'd be like, but
physics.
I
don't believe in physics.
So here is, like, this is what it looks like.
Oh.
It's very impressive. It's like big. I'll like describe to you the whole structure, but it kind of looks like a whole lot of glass.
Do they have a White House? That looks like the White House.
It kind of looks very like a whole lot of massive greenhouses, like glass greenhouses. Like on the inside, I'll show you a couple of pictures here. Like,
I thought it was just going to look like the dome from The Simpsons.
Same.
Well, it's a set, like, in theory it's a dome, but they sort of made it. There's a big sort of pyramid, like glass structure, and then there's a bunch of other buildings attached to it, but it's all enclosed. Like, once you're in, you're in. So, you know, it is like a whole planet inside
it's pretty impressive,
stuff.
to be honest.
It's pretty impressive. It is pretty impressive. I mean, they had billions of dollars.
It looks legit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Legit.
So,
What they didn't have in skill, they made up for in money.
Yes.
There is less paper mache than I was expecting.
and I mean, if actors then can do anything, it's like make things look good. You know what I mean? And so let me describe to you what this thing was made up of. So there were 7 biome areas, which is what I just showed you, like 7 sort of different buildings, all connected. There was an 850 square meter ocean with a coral reef, a live coral reef, eventually died, 450 square meter mangrove wetlands, 1,300 square meter savanna grassland, 1,400 square meter desert, 2 anthropogenic biomes. I don't know what that means, but this is just the gist. And they were a 2,500 square meter agricultural system. So I'm assuming that's all the crops and food they're trying to grow to eat. And the human habitat area, which had living spaces, laboratories, and workshops. And the technical infrastructure, which I'm sure they would just call the boring backstage stuff, like, you know, heating, cooling, electricity, all of that. That was all kind of underground. And there was like heating and hot and cold water circulated through like a whole piping system. There was like a solar system that sort of came through the glass of the like infrastructure to like sort of power things. There was most of the power came through solar and also through like on-site natural gas that they converted into power. Like, it was all pretty.
Yeah, at this point I'm surprised that it didn't work out.
I mean, I assume they were letting those consultants do a lot more of the thinking, and then John Allen would come in and go, that idea I just came up with sounds excellent. You know what I mean? So again, it does all sound amazing, but also a lot of these consultants kept quitting. Like, they had a very high staff turnover because this theatre troupe, or John Allen or whoever, the woman who built a boat that didn't sink, so she's calling herself an architect, like, the scientists would say things like, yeah, that's a good idea in theory, but the intricacies of like how organic mass needs water to grow in X environment, and they'd just be like, la, 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 no. And so they just would, if they would have an idea, and if the experts could make it work, it was like, great. And if the experts couldn't make it work, they'd be like, go away, we'll bring in others.
Yeah, your attitude's wrong.
Very much like Elizabeth Holmes being like, I'm sorry, you're not making this impossible thing happen, then you're fired. I'll get someone else. We don't say no in this company.
It's a very familiar
which with Billy
business
McFarland
model.
and Firefest is funny, with Elizabeth Holmes is dangerous. So now the billionaire, Ed Bass, he doesn't know about any of this kind of tension going on with the experts because he's not going into the biosphere. He's not day-to-day part of it all. He's kind of just the money man. But he has been totally sucked in by the group, like particularly John Allen. And Ed Bass is convinced that this is going to, A, change the world, and B, make him a lot of money because, yes, he's an ecopreneur, but preneur more than eco because Ed Bass is kind of thinking one day Rosie will be sitting in a bathtub mistaking shooting stars for satellites. There's going to be a lot of satellites in the sky. So he's thinking like, you know, all the stuff we're inventing now and all this space travel NASA's talking about, in the years to come, space is going to be the new place to own property. And he's like, I'll be the first one to own all the planets. So even though he's like doing it out of altruism, he says it's more like capital truism. Yeah. It's like, you know what it's like
egopreneur
it's
again.
Yeah, it's all like all these people are like the planet, conserving nature, but then it's like, oh, but I can make money. I can own planets.
Yeah, oh my God.
That's always the way.
Do you know what I've just realized? Because you kept saying Ed Bass and I was like, what? Why is that name familiar? And I just realized Chuck Bass from Gossip Girl. So I've started imagining Ed Bass as Chuck Bass's father, who was like a really villainous.
Probably is kind of like, you know, maybe that was, you know.
He was ruthless.
Yeah.
I feel yes.
So
parallels.
There is one area though where even though they don't really know what they're doing in lots of places and refuse to rely on experts, think they're smarter than everyone, there's one area where the Theatre of All Possibilities troupe is willing to defer to and pay a lot of money for experts in their field. Hopeful actors will never say no to a really good publicist.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So they hire a very expensive, very professional public relations team to get the word out about Biosphere 2. And so this PR team comes up with a big campaign to bring attention to the project because what's the point of doing anything good for the planet unless people know about it and you get a bit famous? So as part of this campaign, they launch a nationwide search for people who are willing to live inside Biosphere 2 for the 2 years. They're looking for 8 biospherians. And this reminds me a lot of, remember when they were saying, we're going to send people to Mars? This, like, it was probably like a decade ago now.
Yeah.
And it was like some billionaire or something who was like, you have to sign up now and we're going to pick the people now. We probably won't figure out how to do it for another 10 years, but you need to start training now. And people really signed up to go to Mars and they picked people. I wonder what happened with that.
Yeah.
And they were told you're never coming back.
They're up there. They're hanging out. They didn't hire PR, so we didn't hear about it.
But it was all like back when they did a nationwide search to find a teacher to go on the Challenger.
Yeah,
like NASA did that.
About.
So it brought a lot of attention to the Biosphere project, and it's so funny. The auditions to be one of the Biospherian auditions, they were like theatre auditions.
Yes.
Of course. That's because John Allen and the theatre troupe were running it. It was like getting people to play like Zip Zap Zop and theatre games and all that kind of thing. Yeah, we would have smashed it. Except we wouldn't have, because in the end, the 8 people who ended up in the Biosphere were just people from the theatre troupe anyway. Like, I don't think they were ever going to let anyone else go in there. I think it was PR.
That's so mean.
Nepotism.
So, yeah. It was 4 men and 4 women, all white, all from all original Theatre of All Possibility troupe members. One of them was the plant lady who looked after the fish in high school, so she must be an expert. They put her in charge of just growing everything inside the biosphere.
Yep, fair.
There was another guy who said he knew a lot about closed ecosystems because he'd done quite a bit of scuba diving.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Definitely.
Sure. And they put him in charge of testing the atmosphere and the soil and making sure they had breathable air.
Oh, that's an important job. I would be putting someone else in that position, but okay.
There was also a doctor.
Of poetry.
Of poetry. Apparently a medical doctor. Or maybe he was just a scientist. Like, I tried to verify. I couldn't see, but
he's like a chiropractor or something.
he was 60 years old and he'd dedicated his entire life and career to the study of and this might sound familiar to you, lengthening his lifespan by eating the lowest amount of calories possible, which he sincerely believed he was going to live to be 120, which is like that guy who's doing it today. Have you guys heard of him? That he's like a really rich tech bro who decided he's basically like...
And it looks like someone stretched his skin really creepily over his skull.
He's like a man... He has an eating disorder, but he thinks that's too girly, so he calls it body biohacking.
Yeah,
but
he essentially biohacking.
It's this guy who like starves himself, and he thinks it's gonna and every now and again he'll like he'll do an interview on a podcast or whatever, like on Diary of CEO or something, and he's like, I'm 45, and if you measure my actual age, I'm 47. I'm like 42. Whoa. It's like he's barely done anything, and it's like. He like eats one piece of spinach every 2 days and barely, and it's like his life is miserable and like it's.
Why would you want 120 years of that?
I know. Yeah. So this 60-year-old guy, doctor guy who's in there this was like the early 90s equivalent of those kind of tech bros who are doing it now. He proudly describes himself as basically your standard mad scientist / avant-garde theatre buff. So that's who you want in charge of being the doctor.
I'd take Dr. Nick over that.
Yeah, I know. There's also an actual marine biologist, a woman who is actually a marine biologist.
Wow. But is she outranked by the chick that fed the fish in high school?
Probably. She, though, is in charge of bringing in all the like coral to make the coral reef, and she's in charge of maintaining the ocean. I just realized they're all kind of like Greek gods. Like one of them's like the ocean, like in charge of the ocean. The other one's in charge of the air, and the other one's in charge of the crops.
Or it's Captain Planet.
Yeah. Yes. Except these people aren't helpful.
They're all hot.
Heart. So I thought, not surprisingly, but maybe surprisingly, John Allen not going in. Doesn't want to go in, doesn't want to spend 2 years in there, wants to be on the outside, probably because he says he needed to run things, but I'd say because he didn't want to do it, and because like the press was going nuts and they needed someone front and center outside, like to be the star because it's theatre. So the PR did really work after that big campaign, even though I don't think anyone questioned that like no one outside the group actually won. The world became obsessed with Biosphere 2. Like it was a huge news story, and they treated the like launch when the 8 Biospherians were entering the Biosphere like a spaceship launch.
Did they wear like jumpsuits? Like
a fashion designer designed them bright red and navy jumpsuits. They look like astronauts. This was a lot like the Lady Space launch we recently saw with Katy Perry and Gayle King, and it was a lot like that. Like they were playing pretend they were astronauts.
Amazing.
And it was just everywhere. It was all over TV. People were obsessed with it. It was like, there are 8 scientists and they're going to live in this biosphere for 2 years. Like, it's like they were going on a space mission. And it's because at that point, like, because of all the press, like, people they didn't know the fine print. They were just seeing the headlines and they were like, oh, like, this is a legit scientific endeavor. No one's spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a theatre troupe to play around in a biosphere. Like people, the public and the press even were like, this is like a serious thing. A lot of people thought it was a NASA project. Like it did seem very legitimate because like they had wanted it to seem that way and they hired PR to make it seem that way.
Well, and how did you fact check back then? Like go to the library and like
I guess
flip through some cards to get like a periodical or something. I
mean,
what did you do?
Get this, like the ads that they put on TV to promote like the Biosphere and the exciting project, they got Rue McClanahan.
Oh, okay.
Blanche.
Yes.
Blanche from the Golden Girls.
No. Seal of approval.
So the whole country was like, well, Blanche told us so.
She wouldn't lie.
Gotta be.
At this point, though, because of all the press, there were people who had been part of like Synergia, like back at the ranch, or had been part of the theatre over the years. They started coming out of the woodwork talking about how they considered it a cult. They considered John Allen a narcissistic cult leader. Scientists who had been part of the project and tried to explain to them like the basic laws of nature, they started speaking up about how they'd left because it was dodgy, it was never going to work. But once Rue McClanahan entered the picture, once Blanche from the Golden Girls was doing ads for it on TV,
good luck walking that back.
Like there were no negative voices being heard above all of the excitement. Celebrities were really excited. The night before the 8 biospherians were to go inside, I guess because they were a bunch of hippies, they held a massive dance party outside the biosphere with 2,000 people. Whoa. And the guest there having the most fun, Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
I knew you told us that his name was coming up at some point, and this whole time I've been listening, but part of me has been like, where's Woody coming into this?
Woody was into it. He was there. It kind of reminds me of, in the movie Independence Day, when the spaceship's there and there are all the people who are like really excited about it and are holding up signs and having dance parties in the desert like the aliens, and then the aliens kill them. Woody Harrelson's still with us. But
thankfully,
on the day like that the biosphere, like the biospherians go into Biosphere 2, like all the world's press is there, like thousands of people are there outside the biosphere. It's sort of like in the middle of nowhere in this sort of desert-esque area. And the 8 biospherians, they go inside. It's this big moment, and then the door won't close. So, like, literally
it's the opposite of the girl space.
Yeah, exactly. The first moment, it's like, whoops,
nothing could possibly go wrong.
Once they're inside, here's the thing: everyone can still see them because they made it all of glass because they wanted it that way. Like because they're actors. This is theater. They wanted to be on display like it was a 2-year performance.
Funny.
So they it was all set up so like visiting tour groups were able to come
and just watch them
and
exist.
just walk around the outside of this glass thing and look inside and watch them exist. Like it was nuts. One thing that was very funny to me though was that like they had this huge dance party the night before. They were all like hungover as F. And one of the people interviewed later said, when we finally got in, like after they finally shut the door and everything, like they were so hungover, she goes, I went and turned the rain on because I just wanted to wash all of that away. And it was like, shouldn't there be like an exact schedule for the rain? Like, what do you mean you just go and turn it on? Because I was really hungover, so I just went and turned the rain on ASAP. Like, oh my God, these people.
That is so funny.
They do live inside this biosphere
for 2 years.
For 2 years. And look, to be fair, they learn a lot about the environment in there. Like they kind of like they're like documenting everything they're learning because this is all meant to be like it's funny, but we're forgetting the whole point of this is we live inside this biosphere. We learn whether humans can exist inside like an environment that is completely separate from the environment outside of it. So because this is not connected to, they're not using the air from outside. They're not using it. They have set this up so that this could be on another planet and the entire inside ecosystem, the air, the atmosphere, everything needs to be survived for 2 years. And so they're meant to learn, like initially they were meant to learn whether it's even possible, learn from their mistakes. But it did get to a point where they John Allen started saying, no, we need to prove to everyone that I'm really smart and nothing's gone wrong and we don't need to change anything. But like initially they were documenting the things they were learning about the environment, which to them, because they're not scientists, was all pretty simple, obvious stuff. Like they'd be like, guys, okay, here's what we've figured out. Like month 2, every time you breathe, like the CO2 you breathe out, that tree over there, that takes it in. And then that goes into the soil, and then the soil grows food that we eat, and then we breathe, and it's a cycle.
They should have got a year 2 teacher in there.
I was about to say, did they go to primary school?
And there were scientists outside going, but that's not new information.
We kind of know that already, you guys.
You're not meant to be learning about how the basic laws of nature work.
Get
we
them
know
some
that.
Picture books.
Yeah, we need to learn about how to maintain this on another planet.
Imagine how stale the air. I'm just thinking of like it's just going to smell like farts in there.
So the plant lady, she does a phone interview with some news show because they're doing it like whenever people will do press, like they'll do it. So she gets on the phone and she's like, I am connected to every plant in here, every plant I've touched, every plant I've propagated. Like it really does remind me when you see the footage in this documentary, they're basically like just city hipsters on a farm for the first time and like learning like, oh my God, like the food we are eating, like we grew this and now, comes from the ground and now I'm eating it. Like they're all so blown away and they're all like within a week, they're all like, I am one with nature. But like, that's a week, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it doesn't take long for them to like really start to hate it in there.
Do they hate each other? That's my main question that I want answered.
That does start happening.
Good.
Yes, it does start to get a bit Mr. Burns and Homer Simpson in the abandoned snow cabin. They, keep reporting all these obvious findings like
rain makes things wet.
Yes. And that when people are like, but that's just conventional science. They're like, we don't care about conventional science. Like they keep saying we're rewriting the rules of science. And then other people are like, that's not how science works.
Yeah, they weren't written.
And then here's another quote from one of the team members at the time. With conventional scientific thinking, you have a hypothesis, but a lot of what we did was based on a different way of doing science. The idea was, here's all this stuff. What's going to happen? That's their different way of doing science.
Okay.
And so it's all, to them at first, great fun, great adventure, not a lot of science. It's kind of like high school science with a lot of money. Like it's all fun at first.
Did they have alcohol in there?
Good question. Usually on Just the Gist, I have an answer for most random questions. That is one that I did not think about.
That would have been my first
question.
Surely. I feel
they're hippies. They'd have a lot of weed and a lot of booze, right?
I feel like they snuck it in even if it wasn't official.
I feel like Woody Harrelson just like delivered them crates and crates of weed and booze.
There's an underground tunnel.
Yeah,
he's rolling bowling balls.
So 2 weeks into the experiment is when like the first kind of accident happens. One of the women cuts off the tip of her finger in the grain chipping machine. And like that's when it would have been great if that doctor was a real doctor, was an actual doctor and not just a guy with an eating disorder calling it body biohacking. So he couldn't really do much and she has to leave for surgery. So within 2 weeks.
She did it on purpose.
Within 2 weeks, like they can't, like they've proved they were meant to stay in there 2 years no matter what, door closed. But within 2 weeks she has to leave for surgery, she has to leave. And when she goes back in, she sneaks in a duffel bag of supplies. And it's like already after 2 weeks, really? Yeah. So there must have been something going on that like meant she was like, we need something in there already. So she's also incapacitated after her surgery and she was the one doing most of the farming and the crop stuff.
Oh, no.
She hurt her finger and she's incapacitated?
I guess. I mean.
My finger.
I know. I hurt my finger and now I have supplies and I have to sit down all the time. It'd be me if I was there. James. So then everyone else had to pitch in to do all of the farming work as well as their own, and that was kind of the least favorable work to do. And so resentment started pretty early from then. And then because of a whole lot of biological reactions, because of actual laws of nature that none of them could have anticipated.
This wasn't in the pop-up book.
The CO2 starts spiking inside. So, I mean, basic science that I know, Just the Gist, we breathe in oxygen, we breathe out CO2, and then the trees filter it into oxygen again, I'm assuming, or whatever, something like Just the Gist, whatever. I know more than they did. A huge part of their promise to the world and part of the experiment is that like no fresh air from outside would ever be put into the biosphere because part of the whole thing is we need to live as if we are on Mars. Yeah. And so there is no fresh air on Mars. We have to, if a problem comes up, we have to figure out how to solve it. And they start like fighting with each other, like I said, the ones who were like, but we're just in here to see what happens. we can we can go, okay, well, yeah, we did need extra oxygen, so we'll put it in and we'll note that. Other ones are like, no, we said nothing. So there starts to be a lot of tension over that. But John Allen is the one who's saying, like, if we're replicating Earth, we need to develop our own oxygen from our own atmosphere, from the plants inside. And the scientists who had all quit were like, we've been telling you that's an impossible balance to replicate inside a room like that. But it keeps getting bad. The CO2 keeps getting higher and higher. It got to a point where the 8 biospherians couldn't even finish a sentence without stopping to take a breath. Like, it was kind of like being high altitude mountain, like the oxygen in the air is so thin.
That technology, like the diver should have known that. There are rebreathers in diving where you, like, it's a backpack that cycles the...
Do you really think the diver... I mean, he should have known that. Do you think the guy who said he's an expert on what did he say?
Closed environments?
Because I think he's been scuba diving 3 times.
So, and what is a scuba mask if not a closed environment?
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of closed environments, am I getting really into this story or is Pocket farting?
Pocket is farting.
Pocket's farting.
Okay, cool.
I noticed it a few minutes ago.
At least he's sleeping though. At least he's sleeping. So they all need to take a breath, like after just walking a couple of stairs in the middle of sentences. Their crops start dying. Their crops hadn't been great to begin with though. Like, there's a quote I remember. They had a coffee crop, like coffee bean crop, and they thought this is going to be amazing. Like, we'll have coffee, we're growing not only food but coffee. Like, we're living a sophisticated life in here. And just as an example of how poorly the food growing was going, it took 2 weeks. Their coffee crops took 2 weeks to produce enough coffee beans to make a single cup of coffee.
Oh no.
So
imagine the fight over that one cup of coffee.
Their caloric intake was really bad. They all started losing a lot of weight. When tour groups would come to visit, or like press would come to visit, they looked incredibly thin through the glass. And then the CO2 starts spiking. So then the crops, which were very small to begin with and not very lucrative, all start dying. And then they had bees in there. And I mean,
why
this is just
put the bees in there?
Well, because you need bees. Bees are like, haven't you heard that thing that if the bees die, we're doomed?
Yes.
So they have bees. I think they heard that. And they had the bees in there, but they weren't. They were like, just release the bees,
and we're good.
So the crops die, the bees all die. Then I'm not sure whether they had them in there or whether like there were probably just gaps in the biosphere dome, but they get inundated with cockroaches and ants.
Ew.
No.
And the only thing that keeps growing, even though not even very much of it, but still it's the only thing that keeps growing, is beetroot. So they just start eating beetroot for days and days and days. And then
they're having the reddest poos.
Yeah, and then they resort to eating like the seeds that they haven't even planted yet because they just run out of food. The CO2 is bad. And half of them are saying, okay, let's learn from this. Put some we now know we need a higher level of oxygen. And John Allen's like, no, I am a genius.
You must all die for this to work.
And he keeps calling it a collective, like, we need to see this out and do it for 2 years. And it's like, you're not freaking in here, man. You're out there doing
John. He's probably having all these like full meals.
He's probably partying with Woody Harrelson out in the thing, like, because he didn't go in.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
And I'm not saying they should have put fish in the ocean, but did they put fish in the ocean or is it just a pool?
I'm sure they absolutely put fish in the ocean.
So how come they're not eating the fish from the ocean?
I'm assuming the fish died within half an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure they did do all of, like, I'm sure they just went to a pet shop and like, and I'm sure also because they're a theatre troupe and they're all about like appearances. They put like beautiful fish in the ocean. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes, like my kids have this book that has an aquarium page and it has all these fish that are incompatible. There's like marine fish, then there's like brackish lake fish.
Does it drive you crazy when you're reading the book?
Shits me.
No, I'm just assuming they had all the beautiful, like, I'm sure someone said to them, like, tuna grows easily and in abundance. And John Allen was like, but that's uggo. Like,
more clownfish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure, Kate Lever, but I'm assuming that is the answer.
I accept your answer as canon in this story. Thank you.
So they are starving. they're suffocating. They all look really emaciated. And that makes the weird doctor really excited because he is like, this is going to prove my theory that the least amount of calories makes us immortal.
Oh, God.
And so the one man meant to be keeping them healthy is like an eating disorder nut job.
Oh, no. I mean, to be fair, that happens a lot in the wellness industry.
Yes, exactly.
Pete Evans, anybody?
Gwyneth. Yeah. So one guy in there, though, who just accesses some working part of his brain, he does the maths. And he's like, if I keep losing weight at this rate, I will be minus 90 pounds when I leave the biosphere.
That doesn't sound survivable.
I don't think it is.
No.
So things are grim and, yeah, they start to turn on each other. The group of 8 splits into the 2 factions, the one that thinks they need the outside help and thinks they should learn from their mistakes and what they're figuring out, and the team that thinks like,
the idiots.
No, the point of this is to survive for 2 years with no help because John Allen is a genius and we will live. And the other group is like, but we need air and food. And so the press then starts to find things out. Not sure who's leaking stories, but the press starts to find things out. They find out that when the woman who went out for surgery came back in, well, first of all, they find out that she left for surgery, and then they find out that she snuck in a duffel bag of supplies, which is like meant to be against the rules. And then they find out about all these scientist consultants who quit like before the team went inside because they were just like, they're not listening to us, they're theatre kids and this is impossible. Then they discover that there were actually some secret food drops happening because like they were literally going to die. Like they were literally going to die. And then the press find out that when the CO2 situation got so bad that a couple of times oxygen trucks were brought in and they pumped fresh oxygen into the vents.
I thought you were going to say like they opened some windows.
Yeah, they just there was a window right there and they just opened it. No, they brought in oxygen and pumped it in.
Probably smart.
Yeah. So
if you want to live.
Yeah.
If you want to do the experiment right.
If you want to do the experiment right.
Priorities.
So the bad press, it just wasn't stopping. And when it like gets out that they're getting all this extra help, like people start saying, well, is this actually worth the money then? Like, because they had made such a huge deal about the fact that they were going in there and they were going to live unassisted for 2 years. And so by the time they started realizing, okay, well, maybe we can just pivot, learn from what we're learning and be like, well, we'll need more oxygen next time, or we'll need not just beautiful fish, but edible fish next time. Like by then the public is like, no, F you. You promised that you would go in there and you wouldn't open the doors and now you're cheating. So then like by the time they start to pivot and be like, okay, we need some extra help, the public's like, get F'd.
Stay in there and die.
Exactly. Like,
we want to watch you die.
So, you know, by this point, it is about $500 million has been sunk into it. And
I hate people with money. I hate it.
I know.
They never spend it right.
The press loves a controversy. And so they're like, they start just referring to it kind of as a $500 million summer camp for hippies. Like that's essentially what it is. And it's at that point that Ed Bass, the billionaire, he's finally like, yeah, wait a second.
Oh my God, it took him a while.
Wait, this science doesn't really seem to be adding up on any of this, and I keep spending more money. And so he finally, like the spell that John Allen has over him kind of breaks, and he goes against John Allen's wishes, and he's like, we can't bail out of this altogether because I guess sunk cost fallacy is like, I've put so much money into this. So he hires an outside advisory board of like scientists, actual scientists, botanists, ecologists, environmentalists, just all the people you need they should have had to make this work. And they look at all the data, they look at the design, they look at everything that's been done so far, everything that's happened inside the biosphere in the almost 18 months it's been now since they've been in there. And they're looking at it all to see, like, has this actually been anything? Like, has besides these guys nearly dying, except, like, they would have died had you not been sneaking oxygen and food, has this been anything? And this advisory board that Ed Bass brings in, they're like, yeah, we've crunched the numbers. This is so bad. You are achieving nothing. None of this makes sense. This is a bunch of privileged kids playing around, playing pretend at a $500 million summer camp. You need to overhaul this whole thing and do like XYZ science things or
shut it down.
Or it's nothing. Ed Bass wasn't initially like in it for the money. He was convinced that John Allen was like really allowing him to invest in real scientific innovation because John Allen told him so, but that scientific innovation was eventually, he thought, going to lead to lots of money. So he wasn't in it for the money, but he was.
But he was.
Like we talked, he was, I'm going to own all the planets one day because I'm the one doing this first.
I'm colonizing the universe.
And so he kind of says to John Allen, I got to cut you loose. So he cuts John Allen loose. And John Allen loses it. He's angry that they've brought all these other people in. He's angry that all these other like Ed Bass believes these other scientists over him. But like, because at the end of the day, like he is just a man with an ego with a theater troupe, and now he's losing control of it. And like one of the main consultants, an actual scientist from Yale who had like been part of it all from the beginning and had like stuck with it because he was just so, he's like, this is all nonsense, but I'm worried about the people in there and I don't know what to do. He goes to the press around this time as well. And he's like, I think John Allen's having delusions. Like this, I'm finally realizing these guys are a weird cult. And it's like, really? Like, how many years of building and 18 months in there? And so then Ed Bass finally realizes, wow, John Allen's nuts. This whole thing is dumb because all these scientists are telling them. I think part of what helps Ed Bass realize the whole thing is dumb, though, is A, the press is really ragging on the whole thing. So he's embarrassed. It's a hit to his ego. But B, he's losing money and he wanted to make money.
Do you know what? John Allen must have been charming. Like,
so charming.
As a cult leader, they all have to have something special. He must have had
the Riz.
The
Riz.
Riz.
Yeah.
Look how cool we are.
I know. The Riz, you guys.
Yeah.
How do you do, fellow kid? So, you know, Ed Bass, for him it had been really exciting, but the whole thing was now kind of a national joke and he was the one who paid for it, so it made him look like a national joke. So he cuts John Allen loose. But they do want to, like, they finish it. They finish the 2 years, and to save face, I guess, they have a big ceremony when the 8 Biospherians come out.
Just crawl.
Ed, like, lets them do that. I think, like, he says for them, but I would say to save face for himself as well. And once they come out and they have the ceremony, he's had it, he's done. He fires the whole board, closes everything. Like the board made of synergians, not the scientists. Yeah. He closes the whole thing down. He brings in all the actual scientists that he had like brought in to advise towards the end to like clean up all the mess. John Allen is just totally shafted. And then they need someone to be in charge of the whole project, like once he's put in all the proper scientists and once John Allen's gone. And this is bizarre. He brings in Steve Bannon to take over.
What? Who's Steve Bannon?
He's the
Steve Bannon from the Trump presidency days.
Oh.
Yeah. He's just a random footnote in this story.
I mean, it kind of tracks. It's all circles,
he is
the same.
Steve Bannon is very wealth conspiracy land adjacent kind of dude.
Yeah.
If you think about it, you're like, I can see him floating around this kind of thing.
They probably drank whiskey in a room together at some point.
And he has this inexplicable gravitas with a certain type of person.
Yeah.
And that certain type of person is people who have more money than they have sense, which is exactly
a rich billionaire. And Steve Bannon's like, I can be your advisor. And people like Ed Bass or Donald Trump are like, yes, thank you.
I thought you were going to say Woody Harrelson and I was going to get excited.
No. Steve Bannon, I know. Oh, I wish. So, I mean, essentially at the time, Steve Bannon was in finance. He wasn't like the famous known person at the time, but like you say, you guys they would have had scotch together in some room. He's the kind of guy that billionaires know. He's just part of that part of the world.
Bro crew.
He was known at the time for going into failing companies and either overhauling them or just selling them off
So he's
for
Richard
pieces.
Gere in Pretty Woman.
That is exactly what I was about to say. He's a pirate. He's Richard Gere in Pretty Woman.
But he is not as handsome.
Not as that is the truest sentence ever spoken. Truly the truest sentence ever spoken.
For the purposes of my enjoyment of this story, I am going to picture Richard Gere though.
Yeah, as
you continue.
So he comes, Steve Bannon / Richard Gere in Pretty Woman comes in, and Ed Bass somehow is convinced by him that he can come in and fix things. So he comes in and he changes the direction from living in space to studying the effects of climate change. So he's like, let's just focus on experiments we can do, which is bizarre. Different time. This was a time when Steve Bannon believed climate change was real, and he is a very smart man. So it's bizarre that later he went on to become who he was. But when Ed Bass brought him in to fix this, he was like, well, you've built this facility. There's no point knocking it down. Why don't we start studying the climate and climate change?
And
they
should have done a
actually
Truman Show.
helping the environment. Yeah, I know. Haley's like, excuse me, more obvious.
I thought they would have gone into hospitality by now and just hired it out to pick weirdos who want to be part of
Woody
the
Harrelson just has dance parties in there all the time.
As if we wouldn't go.
They're still trying to be like, we're altruistic.
I know. So they, under Steve Bannon's
leadership.
I was about to say rule, but I was like, that feels a bit gross. They decide to launch another mission where people will live inside Biosphere 2 for 10 months.
Biosphere 3.
Yeah. But 2 months into the 10 months, 2 of the previous Biospherians who are against the new conventional science direction of the project, they break into Biosphere 2 to let oxygen in and to warn the new Biospherians that everything's changed, man. This isn't the mission you think it is.
Okay, so the chick in the Truman Show.
Kind of, yeah. So the Biospherians who are in there decide to stay a couple more months, but Steve Bannon pulls the plug before it can finish because it's just hemorrhaging money. Even to do other kinds of experiments, it's just not worth it. He then, with Ed Bass, dissolves the company and they sell Biosphere to the structure, the whole thing, to Columbia University. And
they were going to say Columbia Pictures.
I was like, yes, to do the Truman Show to Columbia University, and they do experiments there for a while as part of their science department. They then sell it to the University of Arizona, who own it to this day and run it with a $20 million donation from Ed Bass. So they just use it to actually learn science things as part of their university.
So can anyone go there, or you've got to be?
Look, this is just the gist, Haley, but I'm assuming it's part of.
I can go there.
If they're doing, I'm assuming actual scientific experiments and stuff.
Probably not.
I'm assuming you can't just go in there because they understand how things ecologically need to be balanced and all that.
But I went to theatre school. I know that too.
It's the theatre.
I feel like if this had been a couple of decades later, it would have been a Big Brother house by now.
It is just kind of like a giant Big Brother house.
Yeah.
So the original Synergians, the Biospherians, the original 8, but other members of the Theatre of All Possibilities, they most of them went back to the ranch in New Mexico, the ranch called Synergia.
The cult.
And a lot of them have lived there together ever since. A lot of them still live there today. The doctor who insisted that low caloric intake meant he would live to be 120. He died at age 79. He died from ALS, which is extremely sad, but also kind of proof that you can't
outsmart death.
You can't. Life and death is life and death.
And certainly eating very, very, very little is not a good way to go about it.
Yes, exactly. But, a lot of people do say that there was some good from it. This is a quote from an article in the New York Times about the whole experiment. They say, It would be a mistake to dismiss Biosphere 2 out of hand. For 2 years, 8 people grew papayas, beets, bananas, rice, and a host of other crops in there. Except for a sliced finger, their health remained good, except that they were emaciated and could barely get through a sentence without breathing. The water they drank didn't poison them. Some species went extinct, but the ecosystems endured. Biosphere 2 did not turn to slime. So I get it's a low bar. And then it
Was
says,
there a possibility that it was going to turn to slime?
Yeah, was that on their like big pin board?
I guess it was a bunch
No
of theatre
slime?
kids. I mean, who knows? It then says, as a piece of scientific research, Biosphere 2 had its problems. Countless things were happening all at once inside its walls, making it hard to pinpoint causes and effects. And also because they weren't scientists who knew how to identify causes
They
and
weren't
effects.
scientists.
And without any other biospheres to compare it to, there was no way to distinguish random flukes from significant patterns. The University of Arizona scientist Bob Fry summed it up well in a newspaper interview. It's an experiment, but only in the sense that life is an experiment.
Yeah.
I bet he thought he was a
That's very
genius for that
damning,
line.
though. It's good.
It's a good line, though. But I
don't
mean, he's
like
from
it.
the university. I think he was like, it was an experiment in
It's
that.
not an
that
experiment, is what he
anything's an,
said.
if that anything's an experiment, like I just love that we have this $1 million facility to do fun shit in our science department. John Allen is still alive today, living at the Synergia Ranch. He's 96 years old.
Oh, wow. So the answer to living a long, long life is actually to be a cult leader.
I guess, yeah. And if you do set up a biosphere, don't go in it. Just be the star on camera out the front.
I would have done that anyway.
Partying with Woody Harrelson. Don't go inside. And that was just the gist of Biosphere 2.
So good. It
was a fun
It
one.
had everything.
Yeah, it does have everything.
I'm really glad it had Woody Harrelson. I enjoyed that.
That was your favourite part.
Woody Harrelson, Steve Bannon. Like, what is
So
this
many
journey?
cameos.
I know.
These theatre guys knew what they were doing.
Chuck Bass's dad.
But I always think with stories like this, like, what if this actually happened on another Earth and we're inside some sort of like place.
yeah.
And this is like they keep putting clues like that for us to like twig, but they're like laughing at us like we even showed them like
That's
people
like
can do that.
my working theory that
You're on the Truman Show.
well, no, I always think
you
that
are.
any narcissist always thinks that. But no, that's like my working theory that I am actually an old lady with dementia in a nursing home. And every time I'm like getting naked and having a shower, I'm like stripping naked in the cafeteria in the nursing home. Do you know what I mean? I always think that like, I'm like, what if that's what's happening? Like every time I'm like getting it on with James, I'm like
Yeah, furiously masturbating in front of people
in the TV room. Yes. Like,
And the people in this room now, we're memories of yours?
or maybe you're just two old people also sitting
we're
in
at
front
the
of me at the
nursing
nursing
home as
home.
well.
Like who knows? I mean, it's I don't know. I always get, and it's very Matrix, Truman Show-esque, but I'm like, it is very possible because people say like, wouldn't dementia be the worst thing? And I'm always like, well, as long as in my mind I'm doing a cool thing, right? Like
you've got a good imagination.
yeah, like
still.
as long as in my mind I'm like going back to a fun memory, but I guess
and like
that's a
all the
thing.
dead people are back alive if you want.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think at some point we'll invent time travel, and there's probably like time travel tourists looking at us right now going like, oh, look at them. They're such idiots.
Yeah, what
doing
losers,
that
what
thing.
idiots. Yeah. See, I don't.
It seems like a job for the troupe of the
Yeah. What is it? The
Theatre of the impossible.
Theatre of all possibilities.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's
what's
not-
your
it doesn't roll
theatre
off the
about?
tongue.
All possibilities.
Everything.
And you know what? Also, Biosphere 2 could have been a cautionary tale for us as a society to not let billionaires just do crazy stuff without any expertise. But it was not.
It was not. We're still
Can't
doing
stop
it.
billionaires.
I mean, like I said, I thought of doing this story because of the 5,000 satellites in the sky that are apparently all crashing into each other, and we're running out of room. We're running out of space in space because billionaires keep taking it.
And as I've said on this podcast before, space is none of our business. We shouldn't be going into it or putting things into it, and certainly not trying to live on other planets, in my opinion.
And also, I just remembered that even though we were all really professional and kept telling people to listen to episodes in the back catalogue, I didn't at the start of the episode tell you the name of the show, my name, my co-host names, what this is about, or anything. So thank you for joining me. Kate Lever, Hayley Stavely. Actually, maybe I should record it now and we'll get James to put it back in.
Yeah,
but also, James, keep this in because this is really funny.
I thought you were going to say
totally forgot
that you didn't mention all the Ocean Gate parallels because I kept thinking of them and I was like, we've done too many. We've done.
That is so funny. That's so true.
I was so proud of myself in the mini because I did it really professionally and wrote it all down, and I just didn't do any of it for this one.
Meanwhile, we're in our own biosphere, and the experiment is: can 3 people survive Pocket's farts?
Yeah,
there was a time there where I was
sorry,
like,
I'm used to them. Oh, okay. I'm used to them. And thank you so much. Bye. Thank you for listening to Just the Gist, a Just the Network production. Executive produced and hosted by me, Rosie Waterland. Produced and edited by James Joseph with additional production support from JTG team Kate Lever and Hayley Stavely and Acast legends Guy Scott Wilson and Simon McDermott. Looking for breaking news? It drops on the Just the Gist Patreon every Tuesday, along with a whole lot of other bonus audio, video, and behind-the-scenes content, which you can access for just $1, $1 a week by clicking the link in the show notes or searching Just the Gist Podcast on Patreon. Follow Just the Gist on Instagram and TikTok at Just the Gist Podcast, and watch the video version of every episode on our YouTube channel, also at, funnily enough, Just the Gist Podcast. Follow Rosie, that's me, in all of the places at Rosie Waterland. Want to give us a suggestion? Tell Rosie to stop singing so much? Email us at hello@justthegist.com.au. Thank you, as always, for listening. Now go say something impressive at a dinner party. Bye.